In Kazakhstan, the favorite hobbies are disco dancing, archery, rape and table tennis.
Just as with domestic violence and child sexual abuse, rape is another weapon used against men. Television often has it that rape is very common, and a woman is never more than a hair's breadth from being raped by some male predator. A woman can't get from A to B without fear of rape. The idea is very strongly presented that a man, any man, will rape a woman if he has the slightest chance. Even virtually impossible examples of rape are cited with gusto.
Let us say it is somebody who is raped by a sex pervert. Let us say that it's a young woman who is raped by her father. This woman should not, I'm giving the other side of an argument, this woman should not, or this child, well, she wouldn't be a child, so you can only get this if you're over 18.
Who's been raped by her father or her uncle.
Women seem to love the sound of the word rape, and media satisfies this desire, saying it as often as possible.
And the so-called date rape pill, Rohypnol, can be ordered on the internet.
So they've been smoked, It really is rife these days.
An estimated 30 women a week are drug raped in Britain. Dispatches investigates this growing epidemic.
Clubbers are being warned to be on the lookout for a new type of date rape drug, spiked cigarettes.
Women are now getting special inserts into their bottles to stop the millions of men out there drugging and raping them.
A special cap which stops drinks being spiked with drugs is being launched in Soho today. The product, called a spiky, creates a secure seal over the neck of bottles, allowing only a single straw into the drink.
All men are automatically suspects. This is a true case of original sin. Do you think that all men are potential rapists?
Oh, but of course they are. All men are potential rapists. All women are potential rapists equally. Yeah, every man is capable of rape. To then accuse the man of being a rapist or of being a potential rapist because he can do is ridiculous. I mean, then every woman is a murderer or a potential murderer because they could murder somebody.
The same sources that tell us that 1 in 4 women are victims of domestic violence tell us that 1 in 4 women are raped.
There are a lot of other statistics out there. In fact, one set of statistics that absolutely floored me was from an organization which said that 95% of women, by the time they were age 18, had been sexually abused. And I was quite flabbergasted by this because, you know, for one thing, I wasn't in the 95%. And what I found out was that in their definition of sexual abuse, it included a lorry driver driving by and saying, "Hey, baby."
On the basis of 600 convictions, I have seen the Home Office conclude that something like 60,000 rapes occur every year. And what they do, the way the police manufacture the rape data is by including all allegations made of rape are counted as rapes. They are included in the statistics. They include as rape all those women who have answered yes to the following question. Have you, in the past 12 months, ever engaged in sex when you were not initially in the mood to do so, or words to that effect? They're very ambiguous with regard to whether or not a rape has actually occurred. But the Home Office counts a tick in the box to all these ambiguous questions as if a rape actually occurred.
Has a woman ever said no to sex and then changed her mind soon after?
Yes.
When you persuaded a woman to have sex with you, did you feel that you'd done anything wrong?
No, because it was totally... She knew that if she said no, I mean, I persuaded women to have sex with me, and if they say... but they know if they say no, then it's no.
So initially, she might have said no, but then soon after that, things happened and she changed her mind?
Yeah, well, you just do some smoochy stuff and they change their mind.
They know they're in control, and that's the basic thing. If a woman knows that she can say no and she's in control, then you've got a lot of room to manoeuvre there.
Many of them are being misled by the questions, and the Home Office is then interpreting their answers to these rather pathetic questions in a manner which suits them. And so, for example, if a woman claims that she has been during the past 12 months has been fondled against her will at any time, or without her consent at any time, this will be regarded as a sex assault. Now, it seems to me that probably any woman who is having a relationship with a man will at some times be fondled by him at a time when she is not in the mood. And so the kind of answers that women give to these questions depends very much on what they perceive the reasons for the questions. It's also worth pointing out that in the research published by the Home Office, some 30% of those women who were classified by the Home Office as having been raped themselves did not believe that they had been raped. In other words, even where the man doesn't believe he has raped a woman, and even where the woman doesn't believe she has been raped, the Home Office and the police nevertheless put her into the rape figures, which is outrageous, actually. But the public never gets to hear about these details. They simply believe the headline figures.
As with domestic violence, the figures for rape are myths. The word rape is heavily misused, as are terms like sex attack and sexual harassment.
Every twist, every turn, every fact and every figure is put into the pot of evidence in favour of a rape having been committed. It's in this manner that the Home Office and the police manage to pump up the amount of alleged abuse that is taking place in this country.
The list of false allegations of rape in the media is long.
Here, a court has heard how a professional footballer, Terrell Forbes, and 5 other aspiring players subjected a 15-year-old girl to a horrendous 24-hour ordeal in which she was repeatedly raped and assaulted. Forbes, who plays for Grimsby Town, is one of 6 men who all deny charges of rape. In a completely separate case, police said this afternoon the Arsenal footballer Graham Stack has been charged with raping a young woman at his home in London.
Now, the alleged victim is believed to have told police she met both men at a nightclub in the West End before going back to Graham Stack's flat.
A chap in Minehead who was working at Butlins, and this girl accused him of raping her. I spoke to the mother, the mother of the chap, and anyhow, the girl admitted, she said, no, I made it all up, but a bit too late because he'd hung himself. For a start off, I don't actually understand blokes that do rape women, okay? It's a disgust. I can't even imagine what they've got to be animals. So can you imagine being accused of doing that? And everybody's believing it, and even perhaps when you're clear, there's, and you've got your name in the papers, and it usually seems to take about a year or 2 years before it all comes to court. What do you do in that 2 years when if you're a teacher, you're suspended from school or you're sacked during that time? So you can't find work because nobody's going to employ you, and all your neighbours are aware that you're up on a rape charge.
So you regard rape as not an ordinary crime to be accused of? Not equivalent to...
Oh no, I'd sooner be accused of nicking something than that, definitely. And if I hadn't nicked it, I wouldn't want to be accused of rape. It could destroy everything, couldn't it? It could destroy your family life as well. You see them in the newspapers, blokes get their names splattered about on rape charges, and then they suddenly find out, well no, actually there was no case because she made it all up. We had foster girls here, and I know 1 or 2 of those used to make out they'd been assaulted in the streets because they got back late, you see. So rather than be told off for getting back late, they'd make out, yeah, one of them, she had the police running all around the town of Wells looking for this bloke that assaulted her. There was no bloke at all, he didn't exist. She told us. Well, I was getting back late, so I made up that some bloke got me.
Why would they make up something so serious over something?
You ask me. They made it up. Another one, she said that the boyfriend of her mum had used to sexually assault her. And then when she was here, she said, I want to go back. And of course the social worker said to her, yeah, but you've got this chap, he's back there, surely that could give you some problems. And she thought, oh, she'd obviously forgotten that little story. And when they went, I said to her, look, I said, I'm not going to tell the social workers. I said, but was that true? Did he? No, he said, I made it up. I said, what'd you do that for? I didn't like him. So what you don't do is you don't put yourself in a situation where you're in a car alone with a woman that you don't know at all, or in a lift alone with a woman you don't know at all, because there's always that danger.
Studies, for example, in America, such as one by Cannon, who investigated very closely 109 forcible rapes somewhere in the state of Indiana, a small town in Indiana, discovered that out of those 109 alleged forcible rapes, 45 were false allegations. Some 40% of women eventually retracted and changed their minds about what had happened to them. For women to make allegations of abuse against those who are close to them is nothing unusual. Given that some 5% of men and women do have these personality disorders, and in the UK alone this amounts to some 1 million women, it seems quite likely that the majority of allegations that are made to the police are made by women who have these dysfunctions.
Sleeping with me is awful for me.
No, George, it's not. It's not you.
Many women actually just love to see themselves as victims of abuse. It is a badge of honour which they wear with pride. Women have also been indoctrinated to see almost anything that men do as some form of abuse.
If the accuser remains anonymous, then the accused should also remain anonymous. I don't think at all that if you're accused of rape, it shouldn't be in the newspapers at all. Proven guilty, yeah. The women that do that, false accusations, they destroy that man's life, but they also destroy it for women that are being raped as well, because they make their case less tenable, don't they?
Despite the commonality of false accusations of rape, there's no regard to the man in such situations. The woman is granted anonymity, whereas the accused man is free to be named to the public. The consequences of this, when the accusation turns out to be false, can be stark. The reason given for the woman's anonymity is that rape is a special crime, and she must be protected from further harm. At the same time, the reason given for men not getting anonymity is that it's a crime like any other, so they should not get special treatment. Protecting the victim's identity, whilst broadcasting the accused's identity, is always open to malice, and is a vicious double standard.
If the man is guilty, then the evidence will show he is guilty. His name won't show he's guilty. How's that have any impact on it? If the woman is only coming forward if the man is publicly named, it would suggest other motivations which are slightly dodgy. I know that police think that if the man is named, other people who were raped or attacked by him can then come forward. But that is and that's the case, and I'm sure that some men who are serial rapists have been convicted that way. The other people have come forward, but that's at the cost of a great many innocent men's reputations, and it's what you consider important. If you're willing to sacrifice, 10, 100 men for every one serial rapist you bring down, then fair enough. But I don't think that it's a good cost. I don't think it's a fair cost.
The real power of rape lies in the accusation. The truth of the matter is irrelevant. Evidence is irrelevant. The accusation is everything.
I guess it's a horror you can only know once you've actually gone through it. I know that at any point somebody could come forward and say he raped me, and I would automatically be in trouble. I would automatically then have to find. It's not a matter of saying, well, I didn't do it. I would have to then find a way to prove I didn't do it. It's going to be really difficult, and anybody can say it about me.
Women can freely accuse men of rape, with little fear of consequence. I remember the case of 2 policemen accused of rape, as if rapists travel around in pairs. And keep in mind that because these men are accused of a crime, they are policemen. If the story had been about them saving someone's life, they would have been police officers.
Two policemen who were on duty drove a drunken woman home after she had been attacked outside a nightclub and then raped and indecently assaulted her, a court heard today. Both men denied the charges.
I thought, what has she got to lose? Her identity is secret. She's already ruined the men's careers, pensions and family relationships. If she wins, she'll get massive compensation from the state. If she loses, it's just another case of the legal system failing female victims. If she withdraws charges, she'll not be punished for fear of dissuading genuine victims. And if she's proven a liar, she'll face at most community service or a suspended sentence, and more likely, nothing at all. As predicted from the outset, in the end she was proven a liar. The rape charges were dismissed, and of course, no charges were brought on her. Often, the reasons for women crying rape are laughable. Laughable to everyone, that is, apart from the accused man. Women will lie about rape to explain their pregnancies. Women will lie about rape to get compensation. Women will lie about rape to get a payoff from a celebrity. Women will even lie about rape if they're not satisfied in bed. A teacher who went on a date and ended up having sex with the woman was accused of rape. He had sex with her, but made the huge mistake of not cuddling with her afterwards.
Hey. What are you doing? Where are you going?
Nowhere. I just have trouble sleeping in a strange bed. No, it has nothing to do with you, Helen, I promise. I really like you. I'm sorry. I'll call you later.
The police tracked him down and threw him in jail for 8 days. She herself said she just wanted to frighten him for leaving so abruptly. No charges were brought against her.
My own belief is that the vast majority of real rapes are not reported to the police. That's my belief. I believe if a woman is unless it's perhaps a serious stranger rape, I believe that the majority of what I would call real rapes, in other words, where a man physically and forcibly imposes himself upon a woman who clearly does not want to have sexual intercourse at that point, I'm sure that the vast majority of those real rapes go unreported. At the same time, I also believe that the vast majority of rape accusations that are made to the police are mostly false. Firstly, when the matters are investigated closely, bear in mind, 25 out of every 125 rapes are clearly no crime. There's no doubt, real doubt. They're out of the picture. That's already some 20% of the whole. Absolutely, definitely false. The second reason is that given the likely consequences for a man who is convicted of rape, a woman who makes an allegation of rape is a woman who's out to damage a man. Don't think there's any question about that. Even if she's a genuine victim and she has genuinely been raped, the point is that if she is making an allegation of rape which is going to go to the police and hopefully going to a courtroom, she is out to cause harm to that man.
A woman might often feel like she's been raped, but no rape has actually occurred. A woman in Canada, for example, had the police track down and imprison a man for rape because, and this is true, he lied to her about being a secret government agent. She felt raped because she's an idiot. This kind of thing would be laughable, except men are paying a heavy price for a woman's hurt feelings. A man can spend time in jail when he lies about being James Bond, but no woman has ever spent time in jail for lying about being on the pill.
If a woman believes that she has been misled, she will often think that she has been raped, and then reinterprets what happened 2 or 3 nights before. She then sees him in a completely different light. Now, it might be that she's seeing him in a true light, but the point is, her attitude towards what he did and what his motivations were 2 or 3 nights ago will have changed, and her memory of, and her own memory of how she felt about the incident will also have changed. Memories are like that. A Bristol woman who changed her mind during sexual intercourse with her fiancé. In the middle of their lovemaking, she asked him to stop, and he didn't. He continued. And she lived with him for a further 2 months. said nothing, did nothing, and then the relationship broke down. And so 3 months after that, she reported him to the police, and he admitted that on the night in question he had continued when she had asked him to stop, and he was sent to prison. Now, bearing in mind that this is an incident that took place between two people who were engaged to be married, and that the woman decided basically that it was a rape some 2 months afterwards and then took 3 months to make the allegation, suggests very strongly that women can reinterpret events from the past. They can decide that they are going to punish their ex-lovers.
Real rapes, when they occur, are terrible. Regretted sex, however, is not rape, no matter how much a woman might wish it was.
If you have a date with a woman and that ends in consenting sex, but she was drunk and regretted it in the morning, would you think that you had done anything wrong?
It depends how sober I was. If I was equally drunk, then if we were both drunk, we both had sex, it happens.
There's a chance that you were drunk as well. And no, if you're both consenting at the time, then you ain't done anything wrong.
If she was just, her inhibitions had gone, you know, that's what happens when you drink, your inhibitions go. If you don't want that to happen, then don't drink. But when it comes to date rape, you know, it goes back to the whole, the case of a witchcraft, where all you have is the person being accused and the person accusing, and there's nothing else. It's simply a claim and a counterclaim.
What does this poster mean? How can it possibly be presented that alcohol is some kind of weapon used against women by men? Women want to have sex as much as men do, and both sexes often drink to reduce inhibitions and have a good time.
A girl in a nightclub has power because she's in a nightclub. Because guys who are coming there are coming to pick up and they're coming to look. And so a woman, she's got low cut, she's got low cut dress, she's got short.
Generally,
she has power. She has power.
So are women.
You're coming there for that.
But so are women. That's what women go there for as well.
Well,
don't let them deceive you and say they're going out just to have a dance and just to meet friends. That's bullshit.
They're going to display their power and to be looked at and to basically control men.
Men don't go prowling around forcing women to drink alcohol. Women choose to drink it. If they then behave in ways that they regret afterwards, that's not the fault of men, it's the fault of women. Are women incompetent, empty-headed imbeciles who can't make decisions or control their behaviour? Do they not have any choice in how much they drink? Is their alcohol consumption decided for them by men?
If you don't want to give up your inhibitions, then don't get drunk. If you get drunk, you know the consequences. Your inhibitions may be a bit looser. You may go with a man you wouldn't have gone home with if you were sober. And things might happen that wouldn't necessarily have happened if you were sober. It's the outcome of being drunk. We have some responsibility here.
I remember a radio discussion in 2004 about the binge drinking of young women. An expert woman came on the show to explain why this was happening.
She blamed the drinks industry for not labelling the alcohol content clearly enough. She blamed pubs and clubs for having happy hours. And then she blamed men for buying women drinks. But at no point did she blame women themselves for drinking too much.
When a man drinks too much, it's his fault. When a woman drinks too much, it's everybody else's fault.
Women seem to see themselves as helpless, not responsible for anything, as if they're simply objects to which things just happen.
The woman is not responsible for it. I mean, they almost actually talk about women as if they're some sort of low IQ imbecile.
We often expect more responsibility from children than we do from women, and yet these same women claim that they want equality with men. This is what misandry is about. It takes anything that could conceivably upset a woman, even when it's our own behaviour that's made her upset, and blames it on men. Reinterpretation of a sexual encounter is not rape. Claiming rape and then having consensual sex with someone else later that evening puts the lie to rape. Claiming to have withdrawn consent during sex, but not getting around to mentioning it to the alleged rapist is not rape. An invented sexual encounter is not rape. Consenting sex that only becomes rape when he doesn't call her the next day is not rape. Yet all of these gems have reached jury trial in the UK and the US. When a man has regretted or unwanted sex, he chalks it up to experience and puts it behind him.
I didn't.
But women want some kind of retribution for their mistakes. She wants a man to pay.
I mean, I've said no to a woman. I remember one situation where I was saying no to a woman again and again and again and again, and she was still trying it on. We did end up having sex, mainly because I just gave in. She basically just climbed on top of me. I just gave in. But I thought at the end of that, if that was the other way around, that the next morning I could have easily pleaded rape. At the end of the day, if a man is raped by a woman, he's just going to think, well, I had sex. I struck it off. It's not a big deal.
First interview with a Premiership footballer who ended up in a Spanish jail, falsely accused of rape. Last week, 3 months after Frank was first arrested, the Spanish courts dropped all charges against him. DNA evidence had proved that neither he, Paul Dickov, nor Keith Gillespie had had any contact with the 3 women.
The newswoman seems to be saying that he could only blame himself that these women had laid false rape allegations on him.
Could have taken responsibility for yourself.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly,
you're a grown-up. You could have decided to either drink a bit less or just not hang out with these women.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that will always be remembered as the ones that was accused rather than the ones that never didn't do it, you know, because I looked at the papers a couple of days ago when they got wind of that, you know, we was going to be acquitted from the whole thing. And, you know, the story was on page 4 or 5 and it was a little article and plenty of people could miss that sort of thing, and it wasn't sort of like the headline front pages that it had been when we had been accused.
What do you think should be the consequences? Where a woman makes a false accusation of rape?
I don't know. It's very difficult because if you threaten to punish a woman severely for making a false accusation, then she is far less likely to admit that she has made a false accusation. And judging by the fact that at least 20% of women do admit making false allegations of rape, it seems worthwhile to accept the fact that, it seems worthwhile holding on to the fact that many women who make false allegations are at least big enough later on to admit that they've done so. But if they were to be threatened with long-term prison sentences, the danger would be that they wouldn't dare admit that they had impulsively, perhaps, made a false declaration about what had occurred the night before. So I think it's very dangerous. Though you want to punish women strongly for making false allegations.
I would reserve the harshest punishment for women that do that. I would actually give them the same punishment. If that bloke had been found guilty and got 10 years, I'd actually give her 10 years.
I think matters would be different if a man has spent a long time in prison, say, and it is discovered through some other means. Then I think she deserves the book thrown at her, frankly. If a man has already suffered considerably as a result, and she has not admitted it. But on the whole, I tend to be fearful of anything that, not only in the question of false allegations, but anything that inhibits the truth coming out is something that I fight against. I feel the more truth that there is in the world, the better, and so that anything you can do to encourage it to come.
If they own up, yeah, I would probably reduce the term, but if they don't own up and then it's proven that you told lies, right, you'd have given that bloke 10 years, that's what you're getting.
That's something you'd definitely like to see?
Oh, most definitely, yeah.
What do you think happens at the moment with false accusations? Do you think there's no punishment or too little?
No, there isn't. If there's any retaliate, the man himself then has to take her to court himself, and I don't think he should have to do that.
I mean, the way I would tackle it, for most women, especially with relationship rapes, is to say they're not worth a damn. Now, the Home Office and the government has actually stated, through the Sentence Advisory Panel, that being raped by a complete and utter stranger is exactly the same as being raped by someone you're having a long-term relationship with. I mean, unbelievable, politically correct BS. But I don't believe that. My own belief is that if you are raped by a man whom you have had a long-term relationship with, I actually don't think the rape counts for very much. Unless there's violence involved, I think the whole thing should be dismissed as froth and bubble. And even if on occasion it is more than froth and bubble, I think for the sake of the society we should simply treat it as froth and bubble and not get too het up over such situations. That's my belief. I think women are far too keen to claim that they've been hurt and traumatised long-term, forever, by what I consider to be trivial sexual incidents.
A common myth is that rape is about power and not sex. If that's true, why are the vast majority of rape victims, male and female, in and out of prison, in their teens or early 20s? If rape was truly about power, there would be an even spread of victims across ages. By claiming rape to be about power, and not sexual deviance in individual men, rape is used as a weapon by feminists against all men. It's used as an example of the supposed abuses that women suffer due to the relative position of men and women in society. Rape happens, feminists tell us, because of the patriarchy. Rape happens because women are oppressed by men. But rape cannot be about the oppression of women, because it doesn't explain male rape. Real rape, when it actually happens, is an unforgivable act to men.
For a start off, I don't actually understand blokes that do rape women, okay? It's a disgust. I can't even imagine what they've got to be animals.
Even in prison, rapists of women are the lowest of the low, and need to be segregated from the general population if they're to survive. And it's this strength of feeling within men about rape that's the reason why it's such a powerful weapon against them. It helps turn men against each other. Rape is not a male-only crime, but it's exclusively reported as such, and most people can't easily conceive of a female rapist. But rape is committed by women, most commonly against children and other women.
Women tend to use objects, broom handles, bottles. One woman said that she was sexually abused by rose stems with the thorns still on, being stuck up. Women can be quite cruel using objects, but they're still after their own sexual gratification. So it's kind of, you know, it's just actually, it's just a physiological thing, the difference.
If a woman over 18 has sex with a boy under 16 years of age, it's legally defined as rape. But when women rape boys, it's not generally described as such. Instead, it's typically called seduction, and may actually be a good experience for a boy.
Come on. Oh my God, you're still a virgin.
I was 11.
11 years old? Really? How old is she?
I don't know. 25.
You're kidding me.
She was one of the maids.
Did you pay her?
My parents did.
To have sex with you.
To be a maid.
Hope you gave her a hell of a Christmas bonus.
This lady's about to court more controversy when she seduces a teenage tearaway on screen. One of the sexiest women in soap is going to be telling me why she's looking forward to being a bit naughty.
Women who sexually abuse kids, if you look in the media, have affairs with them. They seduce them. The victims, if they're boys, are always described as older than their age. They look bigger. The woman who ran off, I've forgotten her name, she ran off about 2 years ago to Florida with a 14-year-old boy. She was his teacher, I think she was 30-something. This was described as an affair. And my comment was, if that had been a 31-year-old man who'd run off with a 13 or 14-year-old girl, would we have described it as an affair? No, I don't think so. We excuse women. We don't want to believe it. And as Germaine Greer said to me on a television program, well, if it is a woman having sex with a young teenage boy, i.e. a 13 or 14-year-old, and he gets an erection, then clearly it's his responsibility. And I'm going, excuse me? This is not logical. So it seems that the boy, if it's a boy, the boy is blamed in any event. If it's a girl, then it's kind of, ooh, you know, ooh, that must be, she must be a lesbian. It must be something like that. It must be a lesbian affair. It's abuse. I'm sorry. It's abuse if the child is under the age of 16. The law states it's abuse, and it doesn't matter whether it's a man or woman.
And when two 15-year-old children had sex, Why was the boy charged with a sex crime, and not the girl as well? Are boys immune to the effects of the very same sexual experiences that are apparently so awful when a girl experiences them?
You trying to suck my tits?
Is there a problem with our society's entire view of what rape is and what rape means?
On your web pages on the 31st of May, you said you were raped when you were 15 by an older woman in a facetious manner.
Yes.
So why did you do that? Why did you say those words?
So there was an article in the paper about a woman who had a teacher who had had an affair with a 15-year-old boy, and she was being prosecuted for child molestation or something like that, and I wanted to ridicule it because I think that a teacher having I can't remember the age of the teacher, I think she was 23 or 25, and the idea that a 15-year-old boy is going to be in any shape or form traumatised by the attentions of I just find it ludicrous. And I think if that's the kind of boys we're bringing up in our society, that they are going to suffer as a result of a sexual encounter with a much older woman, then God help us. I mean, it's pathetic. And when I was a boy, I would say that large numbers of children of the 14 and 15 groupies with rock groups. I mean, 14-year-old girls would go off to it was well known, and nobody thought. The parents weren't pleased, but nobody for 1 minute imagined that these 14-year-old girls were going to be traumatised. I just feel that we've become too hysterical about sex, and once again, it's one of those things which adds to the coldness that we have in our society.
Is the reverse true? If it had been a man with a 15-year-old girl in a school setting, for example, do you see it as precisely the same as a woman having sex with a boy?
Well, I don't actually. I have to say I think that it's worse. If I know it's a double standard, but I do think, but only I would say because there is a possibility, I suppose, of pregnancy if they have it, and whereas there isn't when a boy. There is a physiological change that can take place. However, I'm not talking about situations where teachers are persistently seducing students. I'm talking about the occasional one which happens where clearly there's some infatuation between the two, and it goes, a bit too far.
Yes, when a 28-year-old male teacher fucks his 13-year-old female student, that is a crime. But when 28-year-old Deborah LaFay fucks that kid, that's a crime we didn't get it on videotape. Wow. That kid is not traumatized for life. I should have been so traumatized for life, so scarred.
Whilst I agree that we need to get a grip in society concerning hysteria about abuse, does this really make sense? Do boys simply not need protection from adult women and their sexual desires? And if a particular boy is mature enough at 12 or 13 to deal with sex with a woman and all the baggage that comes with it, is it okay for the boy to get his first sexually transmitted infection at age 13? Is he ready to be a father if she decides to get pregnant? Rape victims are not solely women as our media and government overwhelmingly present, but somehow male rape victims and the very concept of male rape is viewed in the same way as all sexual violence against men. It's largely presented as humorous.
When you're upstate, taking it in the cool look by a bunch of guys calling you Shirley.
No! Yeah, soap drop, nigga. Oh, you think you just gonna leave it down there? No. Huh? Now pick up the soap. Pray, baby, pray.
You better get used to it, pal. It's not going to be much privacy where you're going.
You're damn right. This time next week, I'll be sucking down pina coladas in a hot tub with 6 girls named Amber and Tiffany.
More like taking a shower with 2 guys named Jamal and Jesus, if you know what I mean. And here's the bad news. That thing you're sucking on, it's not a pina colada.
I mean, just think, if you hadn't been away doing time, maybe Junior wouldn't be in the pokey doing dick.
Fuck off! Let me up!
Let me up!
I always wondered.
Was that a BC's dick bigger than mine? You be the judge.
They'll give you something to calm down at least.
No. No more drugs.
Caitlin, don't start drinking. Come on. Caitlin, what the hell are you doing?
It's just a habit.
Well, stop it, all right? You're gonna be bald. It's obsessive compulsive.
Want to hang out?
I'm writing my paper.
You mind if I just sit and study then? I'm fine, really. It's just, you know, it's creepy up there alone.
All right.
Radio and poster adverts are solely targeted against men, as if only men can commit these crimes. But why not poster campaigns against crimes that only women commit? British Airways will not allow an unaccompanied child to sit next to an adult male passenger. And I was just wondering, from the perspective of your role here at Kidscape, do you have an opinion on that?
I think that is pathetic. Really pathetic. That is buying into the culture that all men are potential abusers. I think that is such an insult. What are they thinking? That, you know, they've got a pedophile on every flight and he might want to sexually abuse a child? Very sad. And what if they sit the child next to a woman and she turns out to be an abuser? I think it's wrong-headed.
One family I know had help with their children from college girls training in childcare. The rules from the college stated that the husband was not allowed to be alone with the student at any time and was not allowed to drive the girl home. Only the wife could drive her home. But it's easy to see that this doesn't make sense and is based on hatred of men rather than safety. If it was genuine concern for the safety of the babysitter, a far more important check would be if either parent had a driving licence. But they don't do any such check. They just say that the man can't drive her home. So a woman banned from driving for life can drive the babysitter home, and the college isn't interested. But a man can't drive her home for no other reason than that he's male. Hatred doesn't get any purer than this. When I discussed this rule with the family, they raised the point that it was as much for his protection as it was for the students. What is this saying about girls and young women, that a man needs to protect himself from their false accusations?
6-7 years ago we had a Norwegian girl staying here and she wanted to get along the coast, and I quite naturally, again, I wouldn't have done it for a bloke, but I did for a woman. I said, oh, if you want, I'll drive you along to Lymouth and drop you off. Oh, that's really kind of you. And my wife said, yeah, my husband will do it. And as I'm driving along, I thought, what are you doing here? I thought, I don't even know who you are. You stayed one night at my place. I thought, I could drop you off. You could go into a police station and accuse me of whatever you want, and they'd have to act. And I've got a big black name then. And when I got back, my wife had thought exactly the same. She said, you know what, Steve? She said, I don't know what I was doing saying that you would drive her along there. She said, that woman could have done anything. She could have even made a grab for you. She said, and you'd be for the high jump. She said, I won't ever do that again. So I don't.
Why do you think there's a risk there? I mean, is it something that you've come across? I mean, why would you think that anyone would accuse you of...
Well, because women do that, don't they?
We're truly living in the age of the toxic female.